Hello, my name is Robbie Fitzwater. I'm the owner and operator, founder of Marketing Rhythm. We help e-commerce businesses with retention marketing, mainly through email and SMS. And one of the things we get asked a lot is how does a group help somebody with email marketing, or what do I look for when I'm getting help? And also kind of like how do you actually work with us too? So wanted to unpack kind of like our strategy and our process and kind of what that looks like in a little bit more detail. So we kind of have two different paths we typically take clients and prospective clients down. Those two paths are basically going to be structured around what's going to be best for their business, what level of revenue are they at, and kind of what's going to be the best fit for them. And those two paths are basically one is going to be a set of foundational automations that are kind of a baseline level of automations that are going to really improve that customer lifecycle management and really give them a really solid foundation to grow. And another path is going to be a little bit more longer term relationship involving consistent introduction of automations, campaigns, and also list building activities. So inside this foundational automations, that typically is going to be our six foundational automations, which are the welcome, abandoned cart, post purchase, browse abandoned, thank you, and our win back. So those are all going to be really well established to add value to the business because it's going to be, again, bringing people back at each stage of that customer life cycle and really giving them the tools to manage that customer experience at a really high level. Inside of that, we actually do a little bit of audience building. So we'll actually help with again, creating that popover so we can actually get that popover firing. So we know that we're actually building our list, working on some segmentation in there. So we make sure our welcome sequence is going to be really tailored specifically for the use cases around that brand. And then we also build a really solid baseline level of templates that they can use for everything. So going to be a little bit of a heavy lift in this process, but we kind of have this almost as a productized service where we'll work to build those for a brand or a business where we don't get into everything that we would get into on a typical basis, but we really kind of like work to function as a training wheels. Typically, like we see a lot of groups that will start there and actually advance on where they will actually kind of like grow into where we actually work with them on a longer term basis through a retainer. But that's kind of like what we recommend for businesses that have established a product market fit, making more than a few $100,000 a year and really starting to get the wheels turning. This is going to add a really solid expansion in what the revenue they're going to be making, and also, again, allow them to kind of grow to a level where we can work with them on a long-term basis. But if that business is a little bit more established, we have a few different ways we actually like to work with them. So we have three pieces of our what we call an email marketing ecosystem. That's going to be the audience building, the automations, and then the campaigns. So each one of these work together. So when we're building audience, we're kicking over to our automations, which are ideally going to be nurturing that audience and hopefully driving them to purchase. Once they ideally purchase, we keep them engaged with our campaigns and keep them informed, educated, and improving that experience. And as they continue to get deeper and deeper with the brand, by that time we're actually hopefully collecting more data that's actually going to be coming into our audience building and refining so we get more insight into them. And again, once we have more insight or more data points, we can use those in our automations. And then we just, again, have a nice cycle of improving that customer experience in the long run. So with most of our retainer clients, we typically do a set number of automations a month, maybe one or two new automations a month, maybe optimizing one automation a month also. We have a set number of campaigns that we're kind of working on expanding and growing. And then we also have the process of building an audience. So we're building an audience over time, expanding on that audience building, and then refining that audience once we have, again, testing a popover every month, and then refining that so we would know, hey, how are we going to make an experience better for blog visitors as opposed to visitors to product pages? Or how are we going to improve the experience for second-time purchasers? Once they've made a purchase, how are we going to make that experience more and more in depth and more nuanced and personalized? So that's kind of how we typically work with most groups. And it gives us a really nice way of kind of like working to build this whole ecosystem that really functions as a whole. And that's where we really find a lot of value coming out of it because the information we're getting through the campaigns informs like what we can be doing in our audience building. Our automations are also going to be one layer beyond that too. And if we know something is working really well in campaigns, we can also toss it into our automation. So it really gives us a nice holistic system that we can build. And it really kind of builds on a foundation of, again, knowing exactly what we're going to be doing building that email marketing ecosystem, and then ideally finding business objectives we want to be focusing on to drive the results we want to see. And it's generally pretty fun. So that's typically how we work with most groups. And that's kind of like things in a nutshell. Hopefully that gives you guys some clarity. Hopefully that was helpful. And like I said, let me know if you have any questions, and we'll see everybody around. Bye bye.